Welcome back to the 2 Minute Warning. Today, talking about our hot or not takes. Some of you guys have given some on our poll, and we've also thought of some of our own regarding the NFL in this week 11. Some takes that are accurate and some that are not. So that's what we're going to be going over today. Before we get into the video, question of the day, comment down below who you guys think right now is your most underrated team in the league. Both conferences really. I guess with the exception of the Packers and the NFC, there's really no standout number one seed. The AFC is very competitive. So comment down below your most underrated team, and you will hear ours at the end of the video. But let's get right into the first take. We're going to go over here to the comments on this poll you guys gave us, starting with this one about Justin Herbert, that teams have figured him out. The Chargers are, 5-4? They're on a losing streak. Jay, what do you think?
They did start 4-1. And now they are 5-4, like Carson said. This, to me, should be, are the Chargers figured out? I think a lot of people would say, yeah, a lot of people know they don't have the best run defense, yet they can still manage it. To me, I don't think anyone could figure out a quarterback that's only been in the year for 2 leagues, whether they're great or terrible. It's just there's not enough film and not enough experience to really figure out a quarterback that young, in my opinion. So I would completely scratch that out of the window. Now, can teams still get some film on them, some instances of knowing his calls, his plays, what would tip the hat, and just what overall is a telltale sign of what he will and won't do? I don't think so. I think it's more of the Chargers just really haven't really released his full potential. Joe Lombardi, a lot of debate around him not really letting Herbert hit the sky limit. To me, Herbert's got one of the best God-given talents in the league. He's got the best frame, 6'6". I think he's right around 240. The dude has a huge arm. He's humble. He's poised in the pocket. He's not a show-off. He's a work ethic guy. I don't think any team is really close to figuring out his full potential. I think it's more like have the Chargers figured out what they really have, and not in a negative way, but I just think as time goes on, this is a hurry up and wait thing. I don't think anyone's figured out Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I have to completely agree. I think it's more of the Chargers figuring out how to optimize what they have. You got to keep in mind how so many aspects of this team is young. Of course, Brandon Staley in his first year as the coach. Justin Herbert only in his second year in the league. He only won 6 games last year, so he's already at 5 through 10 weeks. So despite not being as good as what we might have thought they were going to be, he's definitely improving. You're seeing improvement there. Defensively, they surprisingly enough, yes, their run defense has struggled, but believe it or not, I think through the first 3 or 4 weeks they had one of the top-ranked pass defenses. That has fallen off. But several of their key playmakers on defense are young. Asante Samuel having a good season, but young.
Yeah.
Derwin James, been in the league, 3-4 years, but only had really 1.5, 2 full healthy seasons. Joey Bosa's now injured on COVID, whatever. He's also relatively young guy. So my point is basically what you said, is that this team hasn't really been figured out by the league. It's just they got to figure out their strengths because so many aspects of this team is new to the team.
Yeah, 100%.
For sure. Now, the next one, are you done with the Chargers?
Yeah.
Next one on this list, we're going to look at Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback for the Eagles.
This is a tough one for me. This is, it's hard for me to say no, he's not when I just claimed, no guy in the league could be figured out in 1 to 2 years. But that doesn't mean there's not a ceiling to some guys. Look, the way I see it for the Eagles is you don't have a better option. Unless you're going to land an Aaron Rodgers, a Deshaun Watson, or something like that in the offseason because you'll have good draft capital. Of course, it doesn't matter if Hurts is a franchise guy because there's a top 5, top 10 quarterback on the line. You go after that. There's only 5, 10 quarterbacks you wouldn't consider that trade for. But as far as realistic options, I'd say keep Hurts. I think it's just a question mark right now. I think it's too soon. He only played 4 games last year. He's only played a couple this year, and he's had a team that's banged up. Miles Sanders has gone down. His O-line hasn't always been healthy. Devontae Smith, his best weapons, just a rookie. Zach Ertz left. The defense is on and off at times, and I don't believe in their head coach. I don't think Jalen Hurts is in the perfect situation to see his full capabilities, but I know the guy works hard. He has a great work ethic. He's got a lot of raw skill. He's dual threat. He has potential. I'm not saying he is the answer, but I don't think he's a problem. I think he's a project right now, but a project that can go in your favor. I just think it's a hurry up and wait thing. There's no quarterback in this draft that I just say he's automatically better than Hurts. You got to take him. I'd say keep what you got.
Yeah, with the situation the Eagles went through with Carson Wentz and buying into him so heavily and then moving off of him, I think Jalen Hurts is a guy that you have to see out for more than just a year and a half, or which is what he'll have under his belt after this season. So as a starter, I think he's 4-9 between last year and this year, so that's obviously not great. But he's dealing with a less than ideal team around him, and there's no doubt he's talented. He's a playmaker. So to say he's franchise QB, yes or no, hard to say now, but I would say right now for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is your guy, and you got to see it out a little longer than right now.
100%.
Next up on this list is that the Rams have a bottom-tier offense and defense, basically saying the Rams are a bottom-tier team. What do you think?
I don't know if this guy was just trying to, get his say on the video so we would talk about him. He got us.
It worked.
He won that, but I think anyone agree this is one of the terrible takes. I'm not trying to hate on this guy, but this just sucks. It's just a bad take. Rams are 7-3. Cooper Kupp is on pace to set records. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, those guys could play half a season. You're still not going to have a bottom-tier defense.
Yeah, this is there's no doubt that the Rams have been unimpressive for the last 2 weeks, played horribly against the Titans and against the Niners. Really, Matthew Stafford played bad in both those games. Of course, the Rams defense didn't do anything against the Niners. So, yes, they've had 2 bad weeks in a row, but right now they're currently the 4 or 5 seed in the NFC. If the playoffs were to start today, they're 7-3. There's no way you can call this a bottom-tier team. Yes, they're struggling, but they still have a 7-3 record, which is better than most teams in the league. So, that is all for the comments you guys have given us. Now we got some of our own ideas. This is a popular one among NFL fans. The Chiefs are back, yes or no?
To me, in my opinion, I don't think the Chiefs were ever gone. I know that sounds bold, and I'm gonna admit the Chiefs were bad. But if no matter at what point it was in this season, even when what did they hit at one point? Were they 2-4? They were below 500.
They were 2-3. I think it's as bad as it got.
If I was forced to put my own money on line, if every single week this season, I would still pick the Chiefs to come out of the AFC. I just believe in Mahomes that much. He's the best quarterback in the league. I wouldn't say they're back. I wouldn't say they're absolutely rebounded. I do think they have struggles, but just with his talent, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, given their reputation, they're still my AFC favorite. So I'm kind of in a weird circumstance. I wouldn't say they're back because I never really said they were gone, but I wouldn't say they're perfect either. To me, I'm still taking them to the Super Bowl. Yes, I think they're still on top. Yes, I still think they are going to make a deep run no matter what. I get that there's issues. I get there's bad matchups. But to me, again, I wouldn't label them as back, but they're still dominant AFC team.
Yeah, the Chiefs for me, I think I was really quick to say, they're done. Patrick Mahomes is not good because he did really have 3-4 games in a row in the middle of the games that have been played so far that he did not look good. Suffered some tough losses to the Ravens. I know they lost a tough game. They did win a close Week 1 game to over the Browns that I think they shouldn't have even won. So arguably this team could be 5-5, but what are they 6-4 right now? But the key for me was this last week's win over the Raiders, a Raiders team that seems to always split with the Chiefs. They're always a tough divisional game, whether the Raiders are a 6-win team or right now they're even a playoff contender. So whether the Raiders are bad or not, they do find a way to beat the Chiefs. Yeah. This past week, Mahomes came out through for 400 plus yards, 5 touchdowns, and beat them by 3 or 4 scores. Yeah. So that was a wake up call for me that the Chiefs are by no means gone, but their defense is weak. I don't like them going all the way this year to the Super Bowl, but they're definitely going to be a playoff team that is going to be hard to beat. So I would say yes, the Chiefs are back, but like you said, they really never were gone.
Yeah.
Next up on our list, one that we will probably disagree on heavily, and that is that the Colts are a playoff team. What do you think?
The way I see this, the Colts are 5-5, and to me, they've had one of the toughest schedules in the first few weeks of football. They had the Rams, they had the Seahawks, they had the Ravens, they had the Titans twice. Miami this year isn't great, but preseason we thought they were going to be a possible playoff team. They had a tough first few weeks, and then the upcoming schedule is Bills. They got the Raiders. There was another game up there that was tough. The Bucs. In my opinion, the Colts have a playoff roster. I believe in their O-line. I believe in their coach. I believe in Wentz to bounce back. Jonathan Taylor is arguably the best running back in the NFL right now with Derrick Henry being absent. I like a couple pieces on defense. Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner, Xavier Rhodes. I believe they have a playoff roster, and I think they should be a playoff team. But I cannot hop on them officially being a playoff team due to their schedule. Again, sitting at 500 with the Bills coming up, the Bucs coming up, the Raiders coming up. I want them to be a playoff team. I'm not a fan, but just because I believe they have that type of roster, but I just think they got a bad break this year. I think they will just fall short.
So I heard the other day a stat that I was kind of blown away by, that the Colts are 9-0 when Jonathan Taylor runs for 100 yards.
Yeah.
So basically he's the key to that offense. And I 100% agree. He's going to win the rushing title without a healthy Derrick.
That's kind of how
Henry.
The Titans seem.
Yeah, that's true. And now they've haven't lost since Henry got hurt. But my point is that you're 100% right. They have a good defense. They have a good running back. They have a great running back in Jonathan Taylor. The problem with me is Carson Wentz. They've had a tough schedule. They've managed to be 500 right now. So that is in itself impressive. But there's 2 games that stand out there, one being Tennessee and one being Baltimore, 2 games that were winnable over 2 of the best teams in the AFC right now. Blown by just late in the game, bad decisions by Carson Wentz. He threw that point blank pick six against Tennessee. He also threw a late interception to Baltimore. So not to say Carson Wentz is bad, not to say the Colts are bad. I just don't think he's going to be the guy to be able to clutch up, because there's definitely going to be situations where you can't just give it to Jonathan Taylor and let him carry the team, because he will when he can. But when you're down by 10 points, 2 scores that they're bound to be finding themselves down by, Carson Wentz is going to have to step up, and it's a similar situation as I see in Cleveland. You have a good roster, you don't have a quarterback that can pull it out. So I think the Colts are going to be a solid team in the running the whole season, but Carson Wentz won't be able to cut it.
Yeah, they're kind of like the Steelers to me. Like, technically they have a shot, but just until they're playoff team, I can't buy in officially.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we do have 2 more that we can touch on quickly. Next one is that the Titans, despite being the number 1 seed in the AFC, are overrated.
What I'll say about the Titans is, lucky for them, this seems like one of the most wide open years in the NFL. It is, and that's what I have to say. I would not pick them to be my favorite. I would technically say they're slightly overrated, because I would not call them the number 1 team in the AFC, especially long term without Derrick Henry. But they're in it. Kudos to them. They're not my favorite. They're slightly overrated, but I would say they still have a chance just because of how odd this year has been.
What are they, 8-2?
Yeah, 7-2, I think. 1-2. Yeah,
they're 2 losses. Yeah. So anyway, overrated. I got to say yes. They just don't have an elite defense. But you also say that they've pulled out wins over great teams.
Yeah.
The most recent being the Rams on that primetime Sunday night game. Now, I don't know if that was Matthew Stafford's struggles.
Yeah.
But that Titans defense completely handled a great Rams offense. That's the standout game for me. But I just don't see a team without an elite defense going all the way. I don't think their offense is quite good enough to step up and do that. A.J. Brown's been having a monster season. Tannehill's actually having a great season for him, throwing the football. Obviously, he's not a huge throwing guy with Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry's been out. Julio Jones has not been the guy that we hoped he would be. So I just don't think the pieces are all there, despite this team being as good record-wise as they are right now.
100%.
And lastly, got to talk about the Bucs. We've seen them struggle. They lose to Washington. They lose to the Saints. A big game. Obviously, Tom Brady apparently can't beat the Saints in the regular season. But the take is that the Bucs are in trouble. What do you think?
The way I see it is how I saw the Chiefs. Like, yeah, there's some bumps in the road. And the NFC is a little tougher with the Cowboys playing the way they are, the Packers, the Cardinals, the Rams. It's a tough conference in the NFC. It's a lot tighter at the top than the AFC is, me having hope in the Chiefs. But the way I see it, until Tom Brady is not in the Super Bowl like he is every single other year or just every year in general, I believe they're just fine. If they continue to be banged up into the postseason, still no Gronk, still no AB, secondary still banged up consistently, then I would definitely bring up some worrisome. But with how weird this league has been, Bucs losing to Washington, what's worse, that or the Jags the Jags beating the Bills? They both suck. You can't argue one's better than the other, but it just goes to show, do we really think neither of those 2 teams are great Super Bowl caliber teams? No. I would say this is technically on track for concern, but I have no concern at this very moment.
Yeah, we know the Bucs struggled midseason last year, ended up winning the Super Bowl. I have infinite faith in Tom Brady, to be honest with you. But the defense is worrying me a little bit. A lot of injuries. The Bucs legitimately have one of the worst, as far as yards allowed per game, pass defenses, and the run defense is slipping a little bit, but also because of injuries, offensive injuries, and AB and Gronk, and Tom Brady just not looking sharp last week. Doesn't worry me a whole lot, but it does worry me in the fact that however far they do manage to make it, these injuries are going to hold them back regardless of whether they go all the way or they lose in the NFC Championship game. They're just not 100% right now. But Bucs fans, I wouldn't worry too much right now. At 6-3, you're still in a good spot for the playoffs. That's all we got as far as our hot or not takes. Comment down below what you think. And back to the question of the day, Jay, who's your most underrated team?
I'll give to AFC. I'm going to go with the Colts or Chargers. I think you could argue the Chargers aren't very underrated. They're above 500. We saw them at their peak. They can beat some of the best teams. But Colts, strength of schedule again, that's my 2 or 1 for the AFC. In the NFC, got to go with the Minnesota Vikings. I love Dalvin Cook. I love Jay Jettas. I love what they got.
I'm going to give my number 1. It comes out of the AFC. I'm going to go New England Patriots. I don't really know if this is an underrated team because they have really put themselves on the map in the last 2 weeks. But Mac Jones is by far the best, so far the most successful rookie quarterback out of the draft. Offensively, Damian Harris and Jacoby Myers having big seasons. And then defensively, Judon is becoming a huge player for that New England defense. So they got a lot of things going well for them. They're looking like they're going to give the Bills a run for their money in the AFC East. And I'm looking forward to their first matchup together. I think it's coming up in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. Coming up soon, Bills, Patriots. But that's my take. Guys, thanks.